Welcome to Mastering Business Acumen. I'm going to help you to get clear about business and finance without wasting years of your life. When people around you talk about business and they use financial terms like improving our margins, increasing cash flow, reducing working capital, how do you feel? There are many people who don't feel very good in that situation. And again, if you have to explain results or argue for a project with a bank or an accountant, do you feel comfortable doing that? Do you speak the same language as them? Do you know what it really means, what the financial implications are of the things you're talking about? The secret in life is that there are many people in business who feel really lost and confused, but they don't show it because it's embarrassing. If they've put themselves forward as confident and competent, but actually they don't really understand the finance and they don't know what drives profit in the business or what cash flow is all about, then they feel embarrassed. But as long as other people are depending on them to look confident and appear to know what's going on, they don't want to ask for help. They don't want to admit that they don't understand. So they stay confused. So why don't we know about this stuff? Is business really difficult? Well, no, it's not. It has its own jargon, but it's not that difficult to understand. Unfortunately, we're not taught about it in school. Even if you do a business degree at university, they don't cover a lot of things that make it easy to understand how you really run a business, but you don't really know what matters in business, how to focus on it, what to do about it. Even MBA students who've been through a full-time MBA often come out really confused about what really makes a business tick. Many of them avoid the finance options as far as possible because they see it as difficult, but even those that have done the finance option and did their best to make sense of it don't really understand how to focus on what matters in a business. What about on-the-job experience? Well, that doesn't help a great deal either, because it's hard to see how the business really fits together. Unless you're being really well taught by somebody that's working with you, you won't pick it up just by being there. So what are the costs of not really understanding how finance works and what drives a business? For the business itself, it means that there are lots of poor decisions being made because people make decisions without really understanding what the financial consequences are going to be. Secondly, there's poor communication, particularly between the finance department and everybody else, and generally between managers and the senior executives. So in big companies, there's often a great gap of understanding between the top table and everybody else. Now, if you run your own business, it's obviously very important for you to understand and to be able to communicate with other people what matters and get the most important things done. So there are lost opportunities in business and there are lost profits. If it's your own business, that obviously matters to you a great deal, but even if you work in a big business, it can make a big difference to your ability to contribute, the value that you're seen to give to the business, and how you get on in your career. What about on the personal side? Well, there's a huge feeling of embarrassment if you don't really understand the words that people are using, and many people feel some kind of imposter syndrome, thinking I shouldn't really be here because I don't quite understand. It gives them lack of confidence, and that can seriously damage the way that they move through their career. And all of this can be fixed if you really understand what drives a business, what makes a difference. So why is financial jargon so darn confusing? There are 3 reasons. The first is that the finance community use one word to mean many different things. Secondly, they use lots of different words to mean the same thing. And thirdly, they take ordinary words that you and I would understand in everyday speech and give them completely unguessable, specific jargon meanings. Let's look at these one at a time. One word, such as profit, can be used for a number of different things, such as gross margin, gross profit, contribution before marketing or after it, operating profit, EBITDA, profit before tax, profit after tax, net profit, or something else. Each of those has a different specific technical meaning, and the word profit could be used for any of them. If we look at many words that mean the same thing, you could have a single number on the spreadsheet, and it can get called sales, gross sales, revenue, net sales, net sales, turnover, income, or something else. It depends where you are, who you're talking to, what language they use. And if you're well versed in business, you really understand the jargon, you understand the principles, you will very seldom be confused about these because you'll know from the context which one they're talking about. They'll know exactly what they mean, And if you're not clear, you simply ask for an explanation, knowing that there's nothing embarrassing or lacking on your side, but they simply haven't used a clear word or haven't used the right word. Let's look at ordinary words. Depending on the situation, the word fixed is one that we all understand. It means it doesn't move. It's nailed to the floor, or it's big and solid and can't be moved like a mountain or a tree. And you know what a cost is, it's money going out. But in some situations, fixed costs change hugely from month to month, sometimes even from week to week. So what does a fixed cost mean? Well, it's got a jargon meaning that's not the same that you would guess, and it's contrasted with a variable cost. Now we know what variable means, that it means it's changing all the time. So, the tide comes in and out, the wind blows in different directions, different strengths, they're variable. But some variable costs stay the same for years on end. So it's just a matter of knowing the technical meaning that's given to the word. Now, if you stay to the end of this presentation, you'll get the opportunity to get a free consultation session with me on building your business acumen. If I was selling my time publicly an hour at a time, I'd be charging £500 for it. I charge far more than that for a day if I sell my consulting time by the day. But you'll get it for free because we have a limited number of these available. I don't have a big team to do one-to-ones. It's just me you'd be talking to, so they're first come, first serve. There's something in it for you, which is you get a great deal of useful advice and clarity out of an hour of my time. And there's something in it for me, because you may want to become one of my students, or you may not. But I want to find out only those students for whom I can do a really good job and make them really delighted that they've worked with me. And that means talking to you one-to-one. So, what doesn't solve the problem of business acumen? There are 4 things that people usually have a go at that don't work. Let's look at each of those. The first is learning by osmosis. Now, unfortunately, business and financial understanding doesn't just soak into your skin because you work in a business. It needs to be explained, and somebody has to explain it. The flow of money in a business is not visible. Most people have no idea where the money is coming from, where it's going to, how much there is at any time, what it's tied up in. They just can't see it because what you see is people and things happening. You don't actually see the money. And business are systems. And a system has different properties from a static object. As one bit bulges, another bit contracts. And one change here will make a difference over there. You wiggle one lever and lots of other things move. So businesses are quite tricky to understand because they're systems. Now, most people don't have a mentor who is explaining on a daily or weekly basis the things that you don't understand. And therefore, learning by osmosis, if it happens at all, takes years and years to make sense of business. Then there's self-directed study. If you decide you really want to get better business acumen, you could, for instance, read a book. The books, unfortunately, can't show you the dynamics in a business, so the understanding that you get will be limited. If you want to read a book, I can recommend one I wrote myself, How to Understand Business Finance. My friend Bob Cinnamon took a training manual that I had written for the course that I base much of my teaching on, and he edited it to make it into a publishable book. You could look at YouTube, Wikipedia, Google, but the problem here is there's so much stuff. It's hard to know where to start. And not only is there so much stuff, a lot of it is absolute rubbish. I've seen plenty of things on YouTube and on Google and even some things in Wikipedia that are simply plain wrong. They're not just slightly off, they're really, really off. So how do you find the stuff that's good quality? And you could spend hours, days, weeks looking around these sources. All the information you want is there, but can you find it? There are lots of courses running for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, some of them 7 days, finance for non-financial managers. And the main problem with these is that you get overloaded with information. Even if you do a 5-day course at one of the world's premier business schools, let's say INSEAD or the London Business School, you'll get given so much information you can't take it all in. And you can't personalize it. And very soon, most of it's going to be forgotten. Usually within 2 or 3 weeks, you've forgotten 70-80%. The other problem is that the information you get is not personalized. There's no way that in a public course that in 5 days people can teach everything that they do decide to teach and also help you to make it personal. There just isn't time for it. So it doesn't get integrated into your thinking and your daily work, and it drifts away and gets forgotten. And the net result is not much. You can take long courses. You could do a diploma or a degree or an MBA with one of the big business schools. This will take you a lot of money and a lot of time. It could cost up to £90,000 or £100,000 to do an MBA at one of the top schools. And even if it's not costing that much, it's going to take months of either full-time or part-time study. I know what that's like. I've done it myself. I did an 18-month diploma course, and I did a year's master's in finance. And I did those while I had a young family and I was running a business. It's really tough. It's hard to find the time. It's hard to take it in. And it has the same problems as short courses. A lot of the information that you learn is not personalized, it's not relevant to you, and it soon gets forgotten. So it's really hard to get a good return on investment from all that time and money that you put into these courses. Now, why listen to me? Firstly, I make business finance easy to understand and relevant to you, and I've been doing it for decades. And the third thing is I really care. So you've got somebody who will help to make sure that you personally understand what it means to you, how you can use it, and why it's important, or why it's not important. The other reason to listen to me is that I've got experience from working with a very large number of the world's major companies. I've taught in every continent except Antarctica, but I've taught in North and South America, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, and I've taught in 3 different languages, and I've taught in many different companies, and I've taught thousands of people how their business works and how they can make a difference to it. So my program is based on 3 pillars and all that experience. The first pillar is a business game that helps you learn the basics. It's great fun, doesn't take a lot of time, and it sticks for a very long time. The second one is we do teaching and exercises, so I explain to you the concepts and how they matter, why they matter, and where they fit into your business. The third piece is application exercises. You take the idea, you use it in your own life, and you come back, talk about it, get coaching if necessary. The first one uses a game called Visible Value. I've developed over many years. It's a very visual way of seeing where the money is in a business, where it comes from, where it goes to. It's now on screen. It used to be a board game. But you can see the money here tumbling down from what's owed from the customers into the cash area because the customers are all paying you. On the right, you pay all the expenses. On the left, you can see how much stock you've got. And it's a very visual picture of a business that people learn from very easily. When you play the game, you'll work in a small team, not alone. You'll run a business, and you'll see how the money moves around. As well as that, you can easily learn the jargon, and it's very competitive, which makes it fun. So it's a very engaging experience. It's not hard work. When people do this in 4 hours, they're amazed that 4 hours has gone by. They usually think it feels like 1.5, 2 hours at the most. So it's great. And the learning that you get lasts for decades. How do I know this? Well, I've been teaching it for decades. And here's a true story. A couple of years ago, I was in Tokyo to run a game for the Compass Group and train their local trainers how to run it in Japanese. And I was asked to have lunch with somebody called Toshio. So I said, fine, I'll have lunch with Toshio. Who's he? It turns out he was the chief financial officer for Compass Group Japan. And I met him, had lunch with him, and he reminded me that in 2000, so 20 years previously, I had run a game in Manila, in the Philippines, when he was working at Unilever, and he'd been on the game, and he didn't just remember playing the game, he remembered that his team won, he remembered their strategy, he remembered what the other people had tried to do. The whole thing was still fresh in his mind 20 years later. And that's not the only story like this. I've had 2 or 3 other people in the last few years contact me, one of them after 34 years, saying he now wanted me to run a game for people that he was managing. So you might be thinking, that's all right for other people, but I can't handle the numbers. I'll never make it. Well, let me tell you, you can handle the numbers. Because I've taught thousands of people, hundreds of whom said, I don't do numbers, I can't do maths, I failed it at school, I'm no good at numbers. And yet the numbers that you need to understand business and understand finance are really simple, small whole numbers. You need to add and subtract, and everyone can do that. You occasionally multiply or divide, and that's the limit of it. There's no complicated math involved. If you ever need things that require complicated math, there are spreadsheets that you can use to do the calculations for you. And as long as you know what it means, you don't need to understand the detailed maths behind it. So, you can handle the numbers. That's not going to be an issue. You have my promise on that. So we've talked about the first pillar, the business game. Now let's look at the teaching. This is me, Brian Helwig-Larsen, and I'm going to focus in the program on what matters. We start with something called sensitivity analysis, which is looking at which numbers in the business have the biggest impact. So if you could change your sales for a bit, your volume of sales that is, or your price, or the cost of the service or the products that you sell, or the fixed costs, the overheads, which one would have the biggest impact on profit? And this is something that most people in business don't clearly understand, and yet it's absolutely fundamental to knowing where to put your attention and what to work on the hardest. So we'll look at sensitivity analysis, we'll look at how you manage profit. We've got a whole series of exercises that we run through Google Sheets. You don't have to do lots of maths. You look at what would happen if this changed or that changed by a few percent, and we talk about the results. It's a very easy way of learning about it. As well as that, we cover pricing, we look at managing inflation, which is becoming very important these days again. We look at cash flow, planning, budgeting, managing against a budget, and building and using a dashboard of figures that matter to you, that tell you what's going on in the business. So these are the areas that we focus on, and we cover a lot of technical stuff while doing it, but it's in order to understand how to manage the business and how to make a difference. Now you might be thinking, how can I make sense of all that? Surely that's just a load of gobbledygook and I'm going to find it too confusing. The way that we work is that firstly I will explain an exercise, you'll then do it in a team, you discuss what it means, we look at some real life examples, we talk about what you can do with it, where it matters, where it doesn't matter, and how it relates to your job. By the time we've done all of that, you will understand it. Now let's look at the application exercises. And you might be thinking, in the real world, things are complicated. How can I figure this out? How am I going to manage? The application exercises are a chance to take each piece of theory that we work with back into your own job and answer these questions. How does it work in my business? What are the opportunities to make things work better? And how can I make a difference? We'll discuss all of that, and we'll set you up with a project that is personal to you, that takes the idea into your business and lets you do something with it. How do we do it? Well, first of all, we discuss the relevance in your job. We plan in teams what you can do so that you can do something that's practical and that's not going to take a huge amount of time, but you're going to really learn from and make a difference with. Thirdly, you go and do it, and that might mean talking to people in the business, gathering some information, measuring something, maybe some simple analysis. When you've done it, we discuss what you found out. If you have any trouble with any of this, I'm available to you for half-hour sessions every week for personal one-to-one coaching. So I will make absolutely sure that you understand how these ideas work in your business and how they can make the business better and what you can do about it. That's my focus. So we've covered the three pillars, the business game, the teaching, and the action exercises, the application exercises in your own business. Let's look at what most people are doing. Most people live on hope. They don't do anything to build their business acumen. It may take forever. They don't learn very much. It may not be relevant. And what they learn, they might well forget. So that's not a great strategy, but it's a very common one. Some people work at it quite deliberately with self-paced learning. It typically will take them many years. The relevance of what they find out is great if they can find the right things, but it's really looking for needles in haystacks to try and find the things that matter. And much of what gets learned is forgotten soon afterwards, because most of the stuff that you find won't be that relevant, won't be that useful, and if you're not using it, you'll soon forget it. Then there's the short courses, high learning load for a few days, probably 30 or 40% relevance to your particular job, and most of that gets forgotten afterwards. If we look at long courses, very high learning load over a long period of time, but the relevance is even lower, because you learn a lot of things that you can't use and that aren't relevant to your industry or your company or your position. So a lot of what you learn doesn't get used and it gets forgotten within the next few months. There is an alternative, and that's taking the course in Mastering Business Acumen. That takes 8 weeks. There's a high learning load, but the relevance should be at least 90%. And my guess is that it's never going to be forgotten. I can't say that from experience because I haven't lived forever, but I have lived a long time, and I know that people remember for years and years and years what I've helped them to learn. So that's what I'm offering to you. Now, you've watched far enough to be able to book a call with me. If you want a personal learning plan, you get a one-to-one consultation with me, and I will help you to identify your real needs and assess the options for getting there, and make a plan to build your business acumen. It doesn't matter to me whether it's with my course, or a short course, or a long course. I'll help you make the best choice that's available for you, because I want you to succeed in the best way possible. So all you need to do is click the link below to book a call. You can do that now. If you do that, what you'll get is, firstly, a detailed assessment of how much your business knowledge really supports you at the moment. What's your current level of business knowledge or business acumen? Secondly, we'll talk together about what the value is of building it up from here. What would that do for you? What's it worth to you? Is it useful? Then we'll compare the options that you have in terms of time, effort, cost, and make a plan for you to follow. So, who's it for? It's only for people who are serious about learning more. If you're not serious about it, I don't want to waste my time talking to you. I don't want to waste your time either. So if you're serious about learning more about business and you're prepared to put in the work, that's great. We could work together. You need to be prepared to invest time, effort, and money in your future to make it work. And you want to make a difference at work. If you fit those 4 criteria, we're a good match. Certainly, you get a lot out of the hour you spend with me, and we'll find a solution for you that's really helpful. If you want to book, and I'm encouraging you to do that if you fit those 4 criteria, then first of all, follow the link below. It'll take you to a diary where you can choose a day to suit you, and a time to suit you where I'm not already booked up doing something else, and I'll see you there. We'll have a Zoom meeting, be able to talk and spend an hour and help you get clear. So, who's it with? Me, Brian Helbig-Larsen, and I'll help you to assess your current level of business acumen, your needs in the area, what are the options, and the best way forward. And I really do want to help you find the best way forward. There's plenty in it for me because I want students that really want what I have to offer and that need it and that think it's valuable because they're going to be great students. I don't want people that don't need it. So if you don't need what I have to offer, I'll point you in another direction and give you all the help I can to get there. This is not a hard sell of anything. I want to help you. Really, I also want to find people who need what I offer and make sure that I can really help them. Because I want totally satisfied clients and I want referrals from them to their friends, family, colleagues, so that I can grow this business very quickly. I will only do that if I give people a fantastic return on their investment and they have a great time and they learn what's really necessary to them. So I want to make sure that I'm only working with the right people and that the right people sign up on my course. And if that's you, that's great. If it's not you, that's great. I'll help you find something else that'll fit your needs better. So please click the link below to book a call because this is not going to be available for long. It's a new program that I'm now marketing for the first time. Once it's running, I won't have time to do these one-to-one calls. So book your call now while you can. Just click the link and there you go. You've got a free choice at this point. You could go in either direction. Choice 1, do it alone the hard way. Try and figure it out on your own, either through osmosis or self-directed learning or short or long courses. You can do it. You don't need my help to do that, but it'll probably take you years. Choice 2 is the easy way. Book your session with me. I'll help you decide what to do. I'll help you find the way. Guaranteed results from this call. Now, I can't guarantee you're going to have the life of luxury that you may be wanting, but I can guarantee that I will help you to the very best of my abilities. And this call will cost you absolutely nothing. So there's nothing to lose apart from an hour of your time. There's a lot to gain. Click the link and book yourself a call. How did I get to here? Well, I found myself in business and I didn't have a clue how to make it successful. I read a lot of books. I studied business for 18 months. I took a master's degree in finance. None of that was really practical. None of it really showed me what I needed to do to make things better in the business that I was running at the time. It was only when I started teaching. I found a friend who was very strong on finance and I found a business game and I started running business games and showing people how it works and teaching others. And by using the games to teach, I found that I understood it more and more deeply myself. And at the start of each course, I would ask every participant what they wanted to learn. And I would explain the things that I understood, but anything that was hard to answer, I found an expert and got them to explain the answers to the class. And when I'd heard the experts explaining these things 3 or 4 times, I found that I could give better explanations than they could. I could make it simpler and easier to understand, and people got it more quickly and more easily. So everything fell into place to me when I started teaching this, and I have taught thousands of people about business. So here's your decision point. You can choose option 0. You've actually got 3 choices. Option 0 is do nothing, like the hamster, just keep going around in the wheel, everything will stay the same. Option 1 is try and figure it out on your own. Good luck with that if you want to. And option 2 is try the easy way. Book your one-to-one session with me and I'll help you decide what to do, and I'll build the steps, put them in place for you so that you can find the way. If you want that, then please click the link and book a call. I wonder what you want to achieve. It's pretty obvious if you've listened this far that you want to improve your business acumen. You want to find the best way to do that, because you could easily waste a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort on things that don't work. You want to avoid that. You're prepared to do the work to make it happen. I'm pretty sure of that, or you wouldn't have listened to the whole of this video. And you're prepared to invest time, money and effort to get to your goals. Well, if that's true, click the link below and you can book a call, because it's important to you. It's probably very important to your business as well, and it may also be really important to your family. If you really knew how to make the business successful, that would either make you a much better businessman as an employee, or a much better businessman running your own business, if that's what you do. So what's stopping you? At some point you hit a wall, probably called indecision. Should I do it? Shouldn't I? What's going to go on? Maybe it's lack of confidence. Maybe you're not really clear about whether you want to do this, or why you want to do it, or what it's worth for you. So if those are getting you stuck at the moment, you don't need to be stuck hitting the wall. Just book a call, talk to me, and I'll help you clear it. We'll look at your situation, we'll clarify your goals and their importance, talk about the options, and you'll leave with an action plan. So this really is the end of the video. Click the link below, book a call, and I'll see you on Zoom.